Frank Oz and the effects team spent an additional $5 million, a massive sum in 1986, to film the original Broadway ending.
Welcome back to Coffin Talk. Today we are discussing Frank Oz's 1986 film, Little Shop of Horrors.
John Candy and Bill Murray.
It's your professionalism that I respect.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Now, many consider this a triumph of musical cinema. I, however, consider it a gross display of botanical overacting by a foam rubber diva who required an entire zip code of assistance just to hit a high note.
Are you seriously jealous of a plant, Uncle Vincent?
I'm a classically trained host and actor, Jodie. I rely on wit, charm, and a nuanced performance. This weed relied on 60 sweaty men pulling cables. It's practically cheating.
It wasn't cheating, Vincent. It was revolutionary engineering. To celebrate its 40th anniversary, we're breaking down the insane, backbreaking reality of bringing Audrey II to life. And trust me, the story behind the scenes is much darker than the singing. You have to understand the sheer scale of the problem director Frank Oz and creature designer Lyle Conway were facing. They couldn't just build one puppet. The script demanded that Audrey grow throughout the movie.
Oh, like an actor's ego?
Exactly. So Conway had to design 4 distinct phases of the plant. Phase 1 was the tiny, sickly, cute little Maxwell House coffee can. That one was relatively easy. A hand puppet operated from underneath the counter.
A respectable traditional approach. I approve.
But then came phase 2 and 3. As the plant got bigger, the foam rubber got thicker, and it became infinitely harder to articulate. They had to design Audrey II to look like a cross between a Venus flytrap and a shark. It needed lips to sync to the music, a tongue, and a teeth. But it couldn't look like a guy in a suit. It had to look like alien biology.
And so began the descent into mechanical madness.
By the time they built the larger puppets, they hit a brick wall. Foam rubber was incredibly heavy, and it doesn't move fast. They had a massive problem. How do you get a giant heavy puppet to lip sync perfectly to fast-paced Motown-style music sung by Levi Stubbs?
Feed me, cowboy! Feed me now!
You hire a better class of monster, obviously.
No, you cheat time. If you move a giant heavy puppet fast, it jiggles like a waterbed. It looks cheap, so they shot all of Audrey II's musical numbers at 12 or 16 frames per second instead of the standard 24.
Wait, so they were filming it in slow motion?
Exactly. The puppeteers were performing the song at half speed, which gave the foam rubber the illusion of weight and muscular control. But that meant the human actors like Rick Moranis had to sing and move in slow motion alongside it.
You're telling me that when Rick Moranis was acting opposite that giant weed, he had to lip sync and stumble backward in slow motion?
Yes.
You don't know what you're you got no idea. You don't know what you're messing with. You got no idea. You don't know what you're looking at.
Then in the editing room, they sped the footage back up to a normal 24 frames per second. Suddenly, Rick Moranis looks like he's moving normally, but Audrey II looks incredibly fast, smooth, and terrifyingly articulate. It's an optical illusion built on sheer physical exhaustion. And speaking of exhaustion, let's talk about Phase 4, the Mean Green Mother. By the end of the film, the final puppet was 12.5 feet tall and weighed over a ton.
A ton? Oh, good heavens. I weigh less than a pound and I still get tired.
It took 60 puppeteers to operate that final phase. You had guys crammed underneath the stage, completely blind, operating massive levers just to make lips move.
Blind?
They were watching tiny, grainy video monitors under the floorboards, trying to sync their lever pulls to a playback track. The cable pullers were physically fighting the sheer resistance of the foam. It was basically a highly choreographed, heavy lifting workout. If one guy's forearm cramped up, he missed his cue, the lips didn't sync, the illusion collapsed, and they had to reset back to one and do the entire shot all over again.
So what you're saying is Audrey II had no actual talent. It was entirely reliant on the blue-collar laborers hidden beneath the floorboards.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But all the blood, sweat, and foam rubber led to one of the biggest tragedies in special effects history.
Ah, yes. Hollywood loves a tragedy. Do tell.
Frank Oz and the effects team spent an additional $5 million, a massive sum in 1986, to film the original Broadway ending. Audrey eats both Seymour and Audrey, and then spawns an army of giant plants that literally take over New York City.
An apocalyptic rampage? Oh, how delightful.
It was a masterpiece of miniature effects. They built a massive scaled-down New York. They had giant Audrey IIs ripping down the Brooklyn Bridge, smashing through skyscrapers, eating trains. It was a 23-minute symphony of practical destruction.
So, Jodie, why isn't it in the movie?
Because of test audiences in San Jose, California. They screened the movie with the apocalyptic ending, and the audience hated it.
Hated it?
They completely turned on the film. They had fallen in love with Rick Moranis and Ellen Greene. And when the plant ate them and destroyed the world, the test audiences scored the movie terribly. People were visibly angry in the theater.
Cowards. You can't handle a little botanical genocide.
So, the studio panicked. They forced Frank Oz to scrap the entire $5 million, 23-minute masterpiece. They hastily shot a happy ending where Seymour electrocutes the plant, the hero survives, and they move to the suburbs. That incredible miniature sequence sat in the vault for decades before it was finally released as a director's cut.
To build a beautiful, destructive piece of art, only to have it locked in a vault because a focus group wanted a happy ending. It truly is the most horrifying story we've ever told.
So, it's a testament to how good the characters were, but a devastating blow to the effects artist who spent months building the miniature city.
Well, I suppose I must give credit where credit is due to the 60 unnamed heroes who sacrificed their forearms, their sanity, and their $5 million finale to make a giant vegetable sing. Coffin Talk salutes you.
And what about Audrey II?
No, bringing a bottle of weed killer to the studio next week, Jodie. We're moving back to real monsters.